Hello and welcome to RNB Fusion podcast. Now, if you like your podcast with a bit of fruity language and some adult themes, then look no further. This is the podcast for you. However, if you don't, then you might want to go and look on like BBC Radio 4 or CBeebies or something along those lines. You didn't have a farm, Ben?
Paul was an alien. There you go. Done.
It's an egg.
Is it an egg? Hashtag legend.
Because Jif is that cleaner or the polisher, whatever it is. Hello there. Let's cause divide in the world, Ben.
Go back in time and get a load of Bitcoin.
I was a rebel, man. You know, the system couldn't hold me down. Hello, fellow listeners. Welcome back to the last episode of Season 1 of RNB Fusion. I am your co-host, Ross, and this is my fellow co-host,
Benny boy.
How are we doing, Ben? How are you feeling about the last pod?
Oh, it's come round quickly, hasn't it? It really has.
I know.
I mean, just talking about it, like, you know, when we were getting going, we're like, yeah, it's flown by.
It's absolutely flown by. It only feels like yesterday that we started this pod, but it was actually 10 weeks ago. Like, we started this back in January, and we're nearly at the end of March.
Yeah.
I can't believe how quick it's gone. And to be honest, I've really, really thoroughly enjoyed it. Have you, Ben?
Yeah, yes, Ross, I've enjoyed it. It's been really good. Thoroughly enjoyed all the topics. It's been a new adventure. For sure, and yeah, like I just said, really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's quite crazy. Like I said, I still remember those days when we were talking about doing a pod. I had talked to other people about doing like a podcast. I had people coming up to me telling me to do a podcast, and obviously they never came to fruition. And then this happened.
Yes,
and
yes,
I've loved every second of it. Like, I feel like it's kept us going, especially in lockdown 3. I just can't believe how quick it's flown by. 10 episodes. We've done 10 episodes.
Yeah. It's been interesting learning all the different things, you know, to do with podcasting. So it's I've enjoyed that, and seeing that we've hit 8 countries now. So
we found out that we actually hit Laos before we started recording today, and that's in between Vietnam, Thailand, and just underneath Burma. That's crazy. So to our listener in Laos, hello. Thank you very much for listening to the pod. But overall, thank you to all our listeners over the pod, especially, you know, because we've hit America, we've hit Texas, New York, we've hit South Africa, we've hit Denmark. I just can't believe we've gone international. Does that mean I can officially claim the title of Mr. Worldwide, like Pitbull?
I would say so, yeah. We'll probably wait till Series 2, but we're getting close to that, yeah.
I feel like we should get, you know, those maps where you have to scrape off where you've been. We should get one and scrape off where the pod has hit. That's
a really good idea, that is. Yeah, I'm up for that.
Yeah, so am I. But again, like I said, thank you so much to all our listeners. And today's pod is, as we were talking about lockdown, this pod is all about the year that, even though people said their 2020 vision, nobody saw this coming, did they?
No one did.
So we're going to be having a review of 2020. As I said earlier, nobody saw this coming this year. Nobody saw what was actually going to happen. It was a crazy year for many reasons. I think it kind of overtook 2016 in the fact that basically that claimed every celebrity. 2020 took celebrities. It put us in a pandemic. We nearly entered World War III. It's definitely a way to enter the 20s. I mean, everyone said they wanted the roaring 20s, and here we are. Even though it's now 2021, the year of redemption, as I'm calling it. Yeah, it's just crazy to think that so much happened in the space of 12 months.
Yeah, it is. It's interesting to see how quickly technologies come out as well. Yeah, new tech to help out, you know, like to be sociable and that. It's been started off a slow year, 2020, and then once people getting used to it and they changed their ways, as people say, and had to abide to the lockdown rules. It was, I think people were a bit. It was a bit better because I mean, at the start of the lockdown, people did the panic buying, as we spoke about on the previous pod. Then they calmed down a bit. Online sales went through the roof. Obviously, Amazon was hitting new records. Supermarkets were hitting like new sales online, and I think everything's shifting to online. Do you think retail will be the same when we can when we can go out again? Because there's so many shops shut now.
Yeah, it's actually quite sad. You know, I mean, especially in Burton and Swad, I've seen like a lot of fashion retail shops go. Like Burton's has gone from Burton, like toy shops shut down. I've seen all sorts of shops being shut because they just can't handle a pandemic. I mean, the fact that Frankie and Benny's has gone, which I mentioned in our food pod, I'm still kind of mourning over that loss. I'm really sad because I love Frankie and Benny's. It's going to be weird to see shops opening again properly. Like we kind of got a hint of it in the summer last year, but when everything goes back to normal, if everything goes to plan on the 21st of June, it's going to be interesting to see if shops absolutely soar in profit or they struggle, because it could go one of two ways. You know, with a lot of people being unemployed, a lot of people living off universal credit and jobs, but not having job security as such, people might be unwilling to spend money they need to have basic living costs, you know, such as like your rent, your electric, your gas, all of that sort of stuff. Or is it going to be the case of the sales are going to be stupid, like 70% off, 80% off? Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see what comes of it. But like I said earlier, you know, 2020 was such a weird year. It started off relatively normal like any other year, and then March, because we were talking about this just before the pod, you know, it's around this, like this week especially is around a year ago when things started to really start to shut down. Such as, I remember I was going to the gym, and obviously the pandemic was still going on, and you know, cases were starting to really rocket. So social distancing was enforced, and that was a weird concept to get your head around. It was great when I went on the train because nobody was sat on top of me, and I still think, people, if you're listening, we should keep social distancing on a train because I do not like being sat on top of, I've got to admit. So I remember then I went ice skating with a few of my mates, and we, you know, after that we went round his house and he dropped us off at home, and we sat in his car outside mine. And it was when Bojo said all leisure centres, all forms of entertainment, recreational use and all that are to shut tonight or as soon as possible. And then a few days later, he then turned around and said, ladies and gentlemen, you must stay at home. You must save lives and protect the NHS. And it was a really surreal moment because it was just nuts. But I think when we got told to stay at home, there was this novelty factor, such as, I can watch all the TV in the world. I can do this, I can do that, I can do this. And then it kind of got to where summer was really coming into play. So, you know, everyone was out in the back gardens. Things were starting to slowly be easy. So you could meet with a group of 6 outside, all socially distanced. You could go into a shop. So there was kind of that normality. I think after that first lockdown, when we went into the second one in December and obviously now this third one, I think it's been so tough, personally. I think like I said, the first one, it was a novelty factor and you had the sun, so you're outside all the time. Whereas the second one, it was in December, so it was around the Christmas period. It was, November going into the Christmas period, so it was really tough for everyone. And then this one has started to get easier now towards the end of it as we're starting to worm our way out of it, because it's starting to turn into spring. So, you know, the sun's out, days are lasting longer. So it's starting to get a little bit easier in that sense. In those winter months, especially the back end of December, January and February, honest to God, it just felt like it was never ending, mate.
Yeah, it's like I say, it's going to be a year. It's going to be a year that everyone's going to remember. It's like you say, the first one was, I mean, before I carry on, I mean, no one wants to be in lockdown, but the first one you're like, yeah, okay. Second one, oh yeah, I'm getting a bit, but you know, why? You know, but of course you've got to do it. and then the third one, everyone's fed up. But it is what it is. I think as well, people trying to be being social again. Obviously, it's hard for everyone, but people want to do it, just to keep the spirits up and keep to stay positive. And people have adapted through many different ways to talk to people and etc. It must have been very hard for the families who have got relatives in homes and etc. Very heartbreaking, so they couldn't see their loved ones. But you have to stay safe. You've got to think of everyone else, and not just yourself. Because it is, a super spreader, isn't it? And you've just got to get your vaccine, and you've got to be very wise and be sensible, because we've all seen it in the newspaper. There's people who have decided to have the gatherings, done the raves, and it's not. It's that it's that small percentage what let the country down, and that. But it happens everywhere. We're getting through this now. We just got to stay positive. I mean, a big one for me was when the gyms shut, because I really like going to the gym, It's more than just the gym, because it's a bit of a social as well. You see people, don't you? And when that shut down, and yes, people have been going out on walks and that, and keeping fit, etc. But it's not the same. We've been very lucky to have sport and other things on like TV to watch. So it's been very good to have that as well, because let's face it, there's nothing on TV as well. Everyone who's had a Netflix subscription or Prime subscription, or they just started, they pretty much watched a big chunk of all the good stuff, haven't they?
Yeah, 100%. Like, I made a joke during a meeting I had with Darlie Dance, and we spoke about saying, what's lockdown been like for you? And we did like a little YouTube video showing what it's like for performers and artists in that sense. And I made a joke saying, well, I've completed Netflix. I got the official Netflix, you've completed it. And don't get me wrong, it's been great in that aspect. Like you said, there has been so many positives as well with 2020. And I think, obviously, we all look at the negatives of the fact we weren't able to go and see people and be close with them. We haven't been able to do things that we've always wanted to do in that year, such as concerts, venues, films and all this. But at the end of the day, there was so many positives of 2020, such as there was so many people who finally decided to take the plunge and start their own business. There's sense of unity across the entire country of going, we can do this, we're going to get through this. Everyone was willing to put their effort in, and it was a bit like that whole clap at 8 p.m. on a Thursday night, and everyone used to get the frying pans and the saucepans and bang them together to say thank you to the NHS. And that was all started because one woman thought it would be something to, for her to say thanks. And the biggest one of 2020 was the fact the vaccine was created within a year. Now, you look back on history, vaccines don't happen within a year. They take so much time. But thanks to the technology and everything about 2020, we were able to create a vaccine, multiple vaccines, may I say, to use across the entire country for everyone. And I think that's just phenomenal that we've done that. And I know a lot of people keep going, we're not out of it yet. It's only a vaccine. But it's still something historic. That is one of the biggest historic achievements that, when we look back on this, it's going to be like our war story. So people who lived through the war going, I remember this when it was like this. We're going to be those people who go, I remember when the pandemic happened and the NHS saved our skin. The vaccine was created within a year. Like, that's what I mean. Like, if you think about, like you said, it's nearly a year since we went into lockdown. We had no vaccines. Nobody knew anything, what was going on. Nobody understood what COVID was. Nobody even heard of what COVID was at this point. All of a sudden, we've now got a vaccine within a year. And I kept saying to people, now I'm a big optimist. I kept saying to people, by spring next year, things are going to start getting better. And I kept saying it to everyone. And it's what kept me going through 2020. I used to keep saying everything will start to get better by the spring. We might not be out of it completely, but things will start to get better. And do you know what? I'm so glad I was proven right. Because you look at it now, the vaccines are rolling out quicker than trains going to your destination. You know, the fact that we've nearly vaccinated half of the population in Britain who've had their first dose.
Yeah, I was about to say that. It's amazing that.
But I'm also so thankful for technology. Now, I kind of mentioned this in the first pod where I said, if this was 20 years ago, we'd all be suffering even more, you know, because the fact we wouldn't be having Zoom calls, we wouldn't be able to see each other on a computer screen. We could write letters and maybe do a phone call, but it wouldn't be the same. And honestly, I as much as I want to go and see everyone so close, I'm just so thankful I've been able to see them virtually, and I've been able to have a chat, have a game night with a few people. Honestly, it was a very overwhelming year, you know, and it was a tough year, but at the same time, I'm still thankful for it, because it was, in a weird way, it was kind of like a life lesson that if you can overcome this, you can overcome anything in your life now.
Yeah, you can. It's amazing how people have adapted to the situation, for sure. I mean, like yourself, like you just said, you started a quiz night, and you started your film and editing business. I mean, this wouldn't have really happened. Come on, if it wasn't for that situation, because it sort of pushed us into thinking, well, we want to do something, and we've been and ahhing for ages, and thinking, have we got anything good to talk about? And then it came to the point, you know what? Let's do it. Come on, let's just do it, Ross. And yeah,
exactly.
It's been great.
Yeah, it has. And like you said, you know, that year's been such an eye-opener. I mean, like you said then about doing a pub quiz. I remember when I was on a train heading to West Midlands Police to do a role play segment for them. And I put out on my Facebook, you know, on about doing a virtual pub quiz. If anybody fancies it, let me know. And I did one. And then I said, right, I'm going to do one every Friday to keep people going. For me, that was how I kept going. But knowing that I was keeping people entertained every single Friday by doing something to take their mind off all of this and to have a new sense of achievement, if you think of it that way, I carried on doing the pub quizzes, and I still have. And I kept saying, if we go into another lockdown, I'll keep the pub quizzes going. Now, I've had a few people where, you know, they've dropped off because at the end of the day, everyone's probably quizzed out by now. And it's completely understandable. We've had about 25,000 million pub quizzes to the point now where we can watch a game show and we know every answer.
Yeah.
You know, it's quite crazy. But at the end of the day, I mean, I had a comment from my cousin, and it really made me feel warm inside, and I just felt very loved. And it was on my birthday, and he said, "Happy birthday. Thank you for keeping us all entertained and keeping everyone going during these rough times with your beaming smile and keeping us all happy and really spreading the positivity." And it really honestly got me. I was like, I couldn't believe that a little act like that can go far. And, you know, I've always learned that sometimes the smallest thing can mean the biggest to someone else. But it was like when I did Darley Dance. So we had a crowdfunder, which, Ben, you donated to, and listeners, some of you might have, some of you might not. And we managed to, in the middle of a pandemic, put on a Christmas show, which we'd normally do every December. And it was a form of paid work. And we managed to do that in a pandemic and raise £10,000 just to fund the show and pay for, you know, the filming crew and the sound crew. And we managed to turn that round in a weekend. So, you know, we filmed it all in a weekend. We'd all been learning our lines and such. And I said to Abby, the owner of Darley Dance, I said to her, this is something I'm going to hold on for the rest of my life. The fact of we've done a Christmas show in the middle of a pandemic where no one else has. You know, all the theatres have been shut now for over a year. So they went quiet on the 16th of March 2020. And we managed to put a show virtually online. You know, and the response was amazing.
I think when it got going again, and I think a lot of people did a lot of live streaming. I know I did with my DJing and so forth. And I'm very grateful for Mixcloud, who managed to turn I don't know how fast they did it, but they they did a live streaming service, and they just brought it out. It was like a brand new live streaming service they were doing. They brought it out, I think within 2 or 3 months, and I started doing live streams on there. People tuning in and doing requests, and I've done it on other platforms. And it's nice just to bring positivity, being positive and people enjoying music, what's very close to me, and I like to engage in that on the streams. But like I say, but it's good that you've done all these different things. I mean, the Christmas show you did was brilliant. If anyone listening did have a chance to see it, I mean, it was fantastic, and I highly recommend tuning in this year. It was a really good production, and I was glad to be given the opportunity to help fund the cause, because it did bring a lot of smiles to people. It was really good. It was something else that was.
Yeah, it was really nice to read the reviews. People saying, "Oh, this has just made my year great."
Yeah.
And it was worthwhile. It honestly, like I said, when we were rehearsing, so a lot of us were rehearsing at home, as normal actors and performers would in general when you're not in the casting room. But, we hadn't met each other for ages. And when we did meet up, it was all socially distanced, and it was like 2 nights. Yeah, I just remember when we did it, the whole feeling of like this, it literally turned the whole year around, and it made it so much better.
Oh yeah, it did for everyone. It was just a lovely thing to watch. I mean, it was just like, it brought everything, everything like Christmassy, it was there, so it was fantastic.
Yeah, it was really interesting to see on an audience perspective, because as a performer, you kind of go through that motion, the show, what you're doing, you go through it, and then you watch it like I did on the night it came out, and it was really weird seeing it all put together. And, everyone got to see at the start that very intro of where you saw us all working from home, and as it was. And yeah, it just, honestly, it made my year. I mean, another thing that made my year was seeing so many people jump on TikTok, which we kind of talked upon in social media.
Of
and
course,
I
Ross.
did for a while.
Yeah.
I jumped on. I haven't been on it nearly a year, just because I just didn't enjoy the content I saw on there from some people. So it kind of put me off in that sense. I love the fact that I used to get messages of people saying, this has made my day. This has really brightened it. This is just a great way to start the day. And I said that to a friend of mine who keeps doing his TikToks now. And it's so good seeing so many people entertain and using their creative outlet that if you think in a normal everyday job, if things were normal, like a normal year, for instance, they might not be able to do. So it's really, really nice to see everyone's creativity absolutely explode. I mean, that was the perks of the first lockdown, was seeing everyone cooking, baking, doing something just to pass the time. Like you said, whether it be live streaming, doing pub quizzes, whether it being a prat on the internet, it was just so lovely to see that everyone was doing it. It was helping entertain people. And I love that. And I think it should be carried on in that sense. I hope this unity that we have, where everyone sticks by each other and keeps going, because it is lovely. I think it's something that we've not really experienced, especially in our generation, I think it's, especially because it's been such a tough year, as I said. Yeah, I just hope that this unity carries on. At the same time, I am missing being a live performer. And like I said with you in your weddings, I can imagine that you're missing all that aspect, and I'm missing performing. I just can't wait until that day where we can have a crowd, we can be in a venue, we can just all have fun, not have to worry, and then look back on this year, like you said, and just go, Christ.
Yeah.
2020 was a wild one.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a shock to the system when, well, for me, especially when I can do a DJ set in front of a crowd to get the actual reaction. I mean, to hear to hear it is amazing. I mean, a comment on a live stream, it doesn't even come close.
No.
So
No way.
it's going to be very overwhelming. I think it's going to be a big shock, but looking forward to when that time comes when we can do it, when we're all safe and so forth. again though, when I watched this, when you performed, I mean, it was the first time I actually watched you perform, and I'll be honest, I was like, Ross, I messaged, I think I rang you or
Yeah, I think you
like,
dropped me a few messages and stuff.
I was
Yeah,
like, Ross, I'm really shocked. You were like, you're good. I was like, I don't mean that. I don't mean that in a harsh way. It's just like, Ross, you're actually really quite good.
I remember that message because I remember when you said, "Oh my God, you were good," because I think I replied and went, "Why do you think I was going to be shit?" It was a genuine.
I was just like, no, I've never seen you perform before. So I was like, okay, but no, literally, it was. Everything about it was brilliant, but just to see you perform as well, because we were planning to come and see you. But yeah, it was just a shock thinking. Yeah, Ross says he does a bit of acting, but when you watched it, it was like, damn, man, he does. Yeah, he can do it.
Like you said, you just can't beat that feeling of when an audience said, like, don't get me wrong, it was amazing seeing the comments about the live show, and like you said on your live stream. But when you're in that moment and you're in a room and the audience is just absolutely loving it, you're getting all the claps, you're getting the audience whistling. I miss that. I really miss that from the first ever show I did with Darley Dance. So that was my second show. But the first one I did at Derby County Cricket Ground, and we had 10,000 people there. Now, the vibe I got off them with people whistling, cheering, clapping, I just couldn't get over it. And it's the highlight of my career to this day. And then, like I said, it just feels very weird not doing that and not performing for over a year. Like, I've done 2 to 3 role plays, which is kind of performing, but it's more for police assessment so they can kind of get an idea what it's like. It's not the same as when you're in front of an audience who's paying to be entertained. That entertainment purpose, I live for. And it's one reason why I did TikTok and one reason why I do all my stupid videos. Like, one of the videos that kind of caught on and I kind of stuck with was my clone videos that I did. Those were always my favourite because I could be so creative and then I'd see people being purely entertained by it that I just thought, you know what? This is perfect.
Yeah, those clone posts you did were very good. I mean, I was like, Ross, how did you do this? Come and show me. No, it was very good. I mean, but like I say though, like we said just before, I think when you've got time on your hands, just going back on what we've said, I mean, you were very creative. I mean, it's because you had time to think about it, and I don't think you would have, you wouldn't have been thinking like that unless you had this time to do it. And like I say, there's been positives and negatives to this. Obviously more there has been more negatives due to the situation, but I think when you were limited to what you can do, the way people adapt, like I've said as well, it's interesting to see what people can do. I mean, like I said, people who are doing theatre, they've started new jobs, and I think it's amazing how people, what's the word to use?
I think you said it nicely, to be honest, where you said how people adapt.
Yeah, because, so that's it.
I think you're right, though. People do have adapted so well. I mean, the fact of going for a walk, like you said earlier about going to the gym, I'm the same. I love that feeling of being in the gym. Like, when you come out and you feel absolutely amazing, you're like, the endorphins are just rushing through your body and you're thinking, I have done so much hard work today. And like you said, you don't really get that when you work out at home. And that kind of is very relevant to the whole idea of going out for walks and stuff. I've been going out walking for the last 2 weeks now, 15,000 steps, which is about 7.5 miles a day, because that is how I've got a routine, but also how I'm getting in my exercise. And at the same time, I used to always keep my headphones in. I just walk and then that was it. Whereas now I take out my headphones and I just listen to what's actually going on around me, because where I walk, it's very secluded, as I said in the last pod. And it's so nice because you just feel at one with the world, which sounds very hippie, but you really just think, you know what, I'm so lucky right now. Even though this crap is going on, you're thinking, oh my God, hearing the birds tweeting. Like today, I was out on a walk and I saw a robin and it kept following me. Now, I've not seen a robin in person for ages. And it was just sat there in a branch. And I think I watched it for about 15 minutes. I just watched it like doing its own thing. I couldn't get over it. If, again, like I said, if it wasn't for this lockdown and not going out for walks and doing far walks like I have been, I wouldn't be seeing these things. I started to reconnect with a friend from uni again, and me and him have been playing Warzone a lot, and we've been gaming a lot, which, you know, in normal circumstances we would do every now and then, but we now do it every night. We like message each other going, fancy a game? Yeah, go on then. And we've both even said at the end of 2020 on New Year's Eve, we were both like, thank you so much for getting us through this, and we're going to get each other through the next however long it takes till back to normality. And it's been such a nice thing to reconnect with old people. And
yeah, it has.
Like you said, you know, it's been great getting in touch with people and just having a chat and reliving old times. I saw a friend, one of my childhood friends back in Brum. I saw him, I think maybe 5-7 years ago. And then I saw him during the pandemic, came here with his kids, and we were just chatting socially distanced, and he was here with his wife. And, you know, we were just catching up. And again, that was a positive, because if that hadn't happened, or this pandemic hadn't happened, yeah, we might have met up, but who knows when, because we would have to plan it around work. Whereas, because I wasn't working and he was working on reduced hours, it was easy.
I think a big thing, what you've just mentioned, is just talking to everyone. I mean, like for instance, people might say, why are you playing on your PlayStation or Xbox? For us, it's a social, you know, it's about having a laugh. And I had a couple of friends who were shielding. Obviously, I text them and just say, you know, just checking in how you're doing and everything. And a couple of my other friends, we would have a sesh on the console, and it's been really, really nice doing that. But it's a different way of doing it, because people just think you're just playing on a PlayStation. Well, yes, you are to an extent, but again, it's coming down to just having a conversation, having a chat, having a bit of banter, what's always great, and that little bit of connection. You know, that connection you have, you know, is with that person. You know, keeps them going. You know, if you can have a laugh, that's all what matters, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And I think you've nailed that perfectly. Like, one of my mates said to me, he said, guys don't really do phone calls. They'll do party chats and game together, which I thought was so damn accurate. Like, don't get me wrong, I call a lot of people. I like to chat with people on the phone. I'm very talkative, as a lot of our listeners will probably know now that if you listen to our pods, I will ramble on for days, to the point where I remember my teacher used to always mention in school, talks too much. And my mum used to say I had verbal diarrhea.
Yeah, it's like 2 hours later.
Yeah, exactly. Like 2 hours later. I think, when my mate said that, he just hit the nail on the head. And you said it perfectly then. It's not just gaming, it's a way of reconnecting. And, you know, it can be something so simple, like you said, gaming or doing a quiz together, but you're reconnecting and you're keeping in touch because you're wanting to make sure that you both know that no matter what, we're getting through this. That's very similar to me with a few of my mates. We have a Euro Truck sim, which I talked about in our gaming pod. I'm referencing a lot of pods that we've done, but, you know, again, as we've done 10, it all kind of interlinks. But as I said in the gaming pod, I play Euro Truck sim with a few of my friends. Now, to most people, that is so boring, but to us, that's our way of reconnecting and going, you know what, let's catch up. Let's just have something very mundane where you can kind of switch off and you can just talk. And for us, that was that game. So I think a lot of things this year have had a lot of special elements, you know. So Ben, how have you adapted to not DJing? So what did you start doing apart from your live streams? What did you start doing in the lockdowns? So did you start working on new music? Did you start getting new gear? Did you start trying to fine tune things? You learn new skills? What did you exactly do?
Well, I took a different approach. I cancelled all my subscriptions, like for music related subscriptions. Cancelled that, and then I sort of sat down and I was listening to did a lot of music research and thinking, I want to start making some music. So I've been doing that on the side. And then people started doing live streams, and then you couldn't get webcams, you couldn't get the adapters to go like use your Sony cameras and Canon cameras for webcams because everyone wanted them. But I was lucky enough that I had some stuff, so I started doing it on Facebook. Then obviously Facebook cracked down.
With all the copyright stuff.
Yeah.
I know that pain.
Yeah, literally, Facebook were like, yeah, you can do it. And then they're like, yeah, they let you off for about a month. Then they're like, yeah, you got to delete that. Yeah, you got to delete that.
I know. The amount of times when I did like a pub quiz and I used to have a music round, they cracked down on it. And I used to always say in the comments, I'm not making any profit off this. This is purely for entertainment purposes.
Yeah.
And I kept saying that every time to the point where I had to get rid of the music round and I've replaced it with a TV themes round.
Yeah.
So I have soundtracks from TV themes, but they sound like they've been done in the music program Sibelius. So it all sounds very monotonal and so it's really simple in that sense. Yeah, it's crazy.
I was lucky that Mixcloud, well, I think everyone was, but Mixcloud launched their live streaming platform. And then when they announced that it would be copyright free. So they had a special system. When you played your songs, it would read it would find out what song it was, and then the artist would get the royalties. So that was a win-win.
Yeah, that's a good idea. That's why it's such a good idea. They should do that on every single live streaming platform.
You would have thought so, wouldn't you? But a big company like Facebook, Twitter, you would think they would have those licenses, but they haven't. And Mixcloud's not small, but it's not a huge one like the big dog.
Yeah, it's not massive. It's not massive at all, is it? It's
no.
Like you said, it's not small, but it's definitely not known. I've had to explain what Mixcloud is to a few people.
Yeah, and to have that opportunity to stream with no worries, thinking, I better quickly do 20 seconds of this song, 20 seconds of that, mash it up. You can play the whole song if you want and do it that way. And it was lovely to have that opportunity. And I moved straight over there, started doing my streams, but I was doing it every Tuesday. But then all the DJs, I mean, I don't blame them. A lot of the DJs were streaming. So the competition was quite high. I did like 10 episodes or 12 episodes. Then I stopped and then I did like special ones and then did it now and then because I thought people are going to get bored of this a bit. And then we discussed different things, doing a games night, didn't we? So we were thinking about doing that.
Because we talked about doing like a pub quiz sort of style and game shows and all of this.
Yeah, and then
this was all before the podcast kind of really came about.
Yeah,
and again, like you said, if it wasn't for 2020, we wouldn't be thinking of that. But I think you going off Mixcloud and saying about the licensing and that, it's a bit like the BBC. So, Strictly Come Dancing?
Yeah.
Have you ever watched it?
Yeah.
So the one thing, you going off licensing earlier, the thing that gets me about Strictly is, so the BBC, a massive corporation company, with the likes of Radio 1, Radio 2, West Midlands, Derby, all of these big ones. So they have a lot of licenses. When it comes to Strictly, they have some shit singer covering it who can't sing it. And I'm sitting there thinking, why don't you just get the soundtrack and use your licenses?
We'll leave that one there.
It's really bizarre. It's a really bizarre one. But again, going back to your streaming and stuff, I remember when you were streaming quite heavily.
Yeah, like once a week.
And you said earlier about the competition. Did you find it quite hard to differ yourself to the competition, or were you thinking, actually, I'm just going to kind of do my own thing, and if people want to watch it, they'll watch it?
Yeah, I was doing my own thing. I didn't really focus on anyone else. Everyone's got doing their own thing, so I thought, I'll do my own thing. People can tune in if they want to. For me, it's not a competition. I'm doing it because I want to do it, and hopefully someone will tune in and can be on the same wavelength with my music. So that's my goal. And obviously numbers do help, but there was a lot of big DJs doing live streams. So to see like Carl Cox and like
Gok Wan,
Gok Wan was doing live streams. to be like thinking they're doing it as well, you're thinking this must be a big thing at them, be on this platform and they're doing it, so it must be big. And there's been some good ones for like charity, like live streams all around, not just DJing, like, a lot of live streams for that. So it's been good doing that. So yeah, but it was, I think at one point though, I had to stop because it was not because I wanted to, it's just, I think it was just a bit samey and it was just like, people might get, but I don't want to sound like negative, but I think people might get bored of me because, and I enjoyed thinking of new sets, different things to try and entice people, trying to be a bit different, but after a while, we were like, yeah, I've had enough of this. I think, I thought, I'll give it a rest. And then we got chatting and then this blossomed.
Yeah, that's it. And again, like we said, 2020 had such a big positive in that sense. I mean, on Sunday, we have kind of started another project, haven't we?
Yes, we have. We have just started doing like a radio show on the Mixcloud, on Mixcloud. And it went rather well, and we just had a good laugh. I nearly knocked my DJ stuff. It went flying across the room. So if you want to tune in, just head over to Mixcloud and you might see some things flying about because you can't see, but there's wires galore everywhere. So I could fall over or the camera could go and Ross is just going there, and we'll be tuning back in shortly when he's back or, something like that. So it's...
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely a good laugh. Or you see me awkwardly dancing because Ben's left me on. Yeah. And I'm like, he's doing a set and I'm just sat there on there going, yeah, this is great. And in fact, I'm actually typing to Ben. So a little behind the scenes secret is that when you see me awkwardly dancing, I'm actually messaging Ben going, Ben, I'm still on the screen.
Ben, to the camera. And you're like, oh, okay. and then you'll see me go, dink. Oh, yeah. That's it. But I think the best one is like, I can't hear you. Literally, we had that for 10 minutes.
Do you know what? I think that phrase sums up 2020 the best. Can you see me? Yes. Can you hear me? Yeah. Am I on? Yeah. And I love that. Yeah. I love the fact that is the common phrase of 2020. Yeah. Forget year of the dog. It was year of the, can you see me?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that's how it has always been. It's like whenever you're on Zoom, you're going, can you hear me? Can you see me? And, it's a bit like when we do our Discord chat, because obviously we all record our, again, a little bit of a behind the scenes for our podcast listeners is, we'll record this separately whilst we're talking on Discord. And a lot of the time before we start Discord, it's always, can you hear me? Can you see me?
Literally.
Or Ross, your camera's gone.
yeah. Or no, it's too close to your face. Bring it back.
It's too close. Yeah, bring it back. I can see your chin. Yeah, I can see 6 of them.
It's too dark now. I can't see you. You're gone.
Yeah, that's it. And again, I think that's another positive. I think, like you said earlier about the technology of 2020. I think everyone kind of upgraded their gear big time. I mean, I use my DSLR as my main camera, which, I think it's given it a second life because I like going out and using it for photography, don't get me wrong, but I kind of bought a new video camera for my videography work and editing wise and stuff. So it's really nice that it's had a second lease of life. And, again, like I said, if it wasn't for 2020, I don't think I would be talking about getting all this extra gear.
No, I mean, I got some bits and bobs, just to spruce some stuff up. I got a new mic for this, this podcast, and that was fun because I had a microphone, and it turns out,
oh god, that whole ordeal.
It turns out because we were testing, obviously for the first pod, and I was like, Ross, I've got this good mic here, and I was like, Ross, can you hear me? Like, no. I was like, oh.
It was the fact that we had Discord open. I couldn't hear you on there, and I had to have Messenger on my phone so I could hear you actually saying what was going on. But yeah, I think overall 2020 was a very bizarre year, and I think, as I've said, it'll go down in history. I can't wait for the day when I feel super old when kids start learning about 2020 in their history lessons. Yeah, I can't. If it wasn't for 2020, a podcast wouldn't happen. My editing business would not have happened, and you guys wouldn't be listening to anything, which I think is quite bizarre.
No, I've got one more for you, Ross.
Oh,
yes, okay. So throughout 2020, doing the Zoom calls, the video calls, did you ever pretend to glitch to get out of the video?
Well, I actually have a secret, which I kind of feel like people are now going to pick up on, especially friends, family or colleagues. I used to record a video of me like nodding and listening. And what I used to do is I'd have my camera on normally in the Zoom, and then I'd say, oh, sorry, my camera's gone. I'd turn it off and then I'd replace it with the video. And I would just have my microphone, and every now and then, if they said, you know, are you all listening? Sometimes I'd change my camera and it would go off, and then I'd put myself going, yeah. And then I'd put the video back on.
Ross. That thing where when you just put like a nice shirt on and then you just got nothing like, you know, below, just like that.
I saw Tom Holland did that. They were saying what it's like to actually be at the virtual Oscars, and he was in like a tux from up the top, and then he was in his pants.
Yeah.
And you know what? I've done that so many times. There was I had a Zoom party after our Daily Dance Christmas show, and I wore a really nice blue grandad collar shirt. I did my hair, I did my beard, so it was all tamed. And I was just wearing PJ bottoms.
I think that you made an effort, though. You made half an effort, so it's fine.
Yeah. At the end of the day, nobody's seen the bottom half. If you were to see me on my camera, I can happily sit in my pants in an interview and nobody needs to worry.
Apart from when you walk off at the end.
Yeah, that's it. I did a Boris Johnson video a while ago. I don't know if you saw it, Ben.
Yeah,
but listeners, if you haven't, I'll post it on my Facebook. And basically, it was me doing a parody of Boris Johnson and him doing his Zoom call because obviously he'd been self-isolating. And then he walks on and goes, right, I'm going to go for a spot of lunch. And he actually walks off in his pants because he's only dressed the top half. And that was basically me in 2020, I was just wearing pants all the time and wearing joggers, which I've kind of done all my life. But I used to wear joggers all the time, especially in lockdown. And then it felt like when I went to the shops and stuff, I had to make an effort.
Yeah.
So I'd go in like smart jeans, white as hell sneakers, a nice shirt. You know, you feel like, right, this is my day out. This is me dressing up.
This is my night out, right? Come on, you know.
Yeah, it's crazy though that we all did that.
It really is.
But everyone who have done that, everyone would have got glamoured up just to go to Tesco's.
Yeah, it is. It's just it's that one day of the week into, you know, through lockdown. You go now. I'll make an effort.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. You got to make an effort. But I think, Ben, we've touched on 2020 so much tonight, and I think overall 2020 was a bizarre year, and I think it was a crazy year. It had lots of lows, but it had even more highs. And most importantly, if it wasn't for 2020, we wouldn't have a podcast, even though technically we started in 2021. But, you know, viewers, ignore that. But, you know, I just want to say, and I'm sure Ben will agree with me here, is listeners, I want to say the biggest thank you to all of you who have spent the time either on your daily walk or out and about or doing whatever, whether it be cleaning your room, whether it be in the bath, whether you're on the toilet, whatever it is that you're doing. Thank you for listening to our podcast. And I'm really excited to announce that we're going to have a season 2, aren't we, Ben?
Are we? Are you, Ross?
Well, I don't know. We'll have to discuss this. I would quite like a season 2, but if season 2 doesn't happen, thank you very much, listeners, but I would love it.
Joking apart, we are doing a series 2 for sure. We're already on a lot of different discussions on ideas and that's And if anyone wants us to talk about anything, just hit us up at RNB Fusion on the socials, and you can email us at rnbfusion@outlook.com. There you go.
Can we just witness that on the last episode? Ben just took my job of announcing some of the socials.
No, I'm taking it, but I'm covered.
That's it. Ben's officially got the job now. But honestly, it's always been a pleasure, Ben. And listeners, thank you very much for listening. I have been your co-host, Ross, and this is my co-host,
Benny Boy.
And we will see you very soon. Keep your eye out for a season 2 announcement. But until then, stay safe, and hopefully, when this is all over, me and Ben will be in person doing a podcast.
Hopefully.
But thank you very much. This is
The intro to RNB Fusion podcast is Just Smile by Liquid. You can find this on soundcloud.com/liquid, and that is spelled LIQWYD. This falls under the Creative Commons Attribution 3.0, and you can also find this on YouTube under the channel Audio Library.